ادْعُ إِلَىٰ سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُم بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ ۚ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَن ضَلَّ عَن سَبِيلِهِ.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Imam Initiative, a series about being an Imam in the West. This is part 2 of Sheikh Faruk Post's contribution to the series, in which he answers questions about education and preparation, as well as financial questions.
And I would advise the brothers currently seeking knowledge with the scholars, whether they're in Medina, whether they're in Mecca, whether they're in Riyadh, whether they're wherever they are throughout the world, to make the scholars your closest companions. Service them. Spend time with them. Learn from their manners, their etiquettes, their wisdom, the way that they talk with people, the way that they talk with the ignorant person, the way that they talk with the student of knowledge, the way that they talk with their peers from amongst other scholars. Learn from their manners and etiquettes, and learn from these things before you start taking knowledge from them, brothers. And always visit your scholars, always visit your teachers. Call them regularly. Help them if they need help with research or gathering up hadith or gathering up ayah about a certain topic. And always try to be there if they need you. Also, humble yourselves in front of your teachers and scholars, because knowledge will only be acquired and attained with humility, patience, perseverance, and dedication and commitment. And try to read some books to your teachers, to your scholars, and try to take some ijazahs if you can. Read some books of hadith, memorize the Quran, try to get an ijazah in the Quran and some books of hadith, in some books of the scholars, if you can. And always ask your teachers questions. Don't be shy or afraid to ask your teachers or scholars questions, but be sure to word your questions correctly so that it's understandable to your teacher. And don't ask your teacher questions about what they think about the opinions or views of other contemporary scholars. Also, something very important, do not busy your teachers with he said or she said. And always show your teachers and scholars your research papers, your books, your articles, and ask them what they think about it. Ask them if it needs to be edited. Ask them to do commentary on what you have written or ta'liqat and the likes of these things. So generally, in my opinion, the student should start, as you all know, with the smaller, concise, summarized books. Then gradually move up into the more detailed books. For example, if the student wanted to study hadith, he would start off with Arba'in al-Nawawiyya, 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. Then move on to Umdat al-Ahkam, then move on to Bulugh al-Maram, then move on to Riyadh al-Salihin, and start memorizing those books, but progressively. And to me, all of the Islamic sciences are extremely useful, depending on which place, time, situation, circumstances one is in. But as an Imam in the West, then one definitely needs to be firmly grounded in fiqh al-ibadat, fiqh al-mu'amalat, usul al-fiqh, knowing the issues related to divorce, marriage. Very important. He needs to know aqidah, tafsir, tajweed. He needs to know the principles and techniques of giving fatwa, and he needs to know some seerah and some Islamic history. As for the other sciences that you mentioned, Sajid, I believe that they're more advanced and they're best utilized to teach serious students of knowledge and advanced students of knowledge. And A lot of times when I prepare lectures, lessons, or khutbas, a lot of times I use research papers and little articles that I wrote during my time in Mecca studying, that I authored during my time in master's degree and my time during PhD, bachelor's degree in the Ma'had in my free time. And if I don't have anything about a specific topic that I'd like to talk about, I'll read some books of tafsir and gather up the verses related to that topic from the Quran first, and then look into the books of tafsir, and then I will also open up the books of hadith. For example, I'll refer back to Jami' al-Usul by Ibn Athir and look at all of the hadith which are gathered in one place about a particular topic, and then go back to the books of explanation of hadith. And 90% of the time, I would say that I write the khutbas from scratch. And some beneficial books that the Imam or the religious scholar should always read and keep fresh in his mind and amongst his gatherings and sittings amongst his special students is a very beneficial book, Jami' al-Bayan al-Ilm al-Fadlihi by Ibn Abdul Barr. Also, even before that is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Riyadh al-Salihin, Umdat al-Ahkam. I think these are the very beneficial books that the Imam constantly needs to review and constantly go back to and read. So the Imam, he constantly and consistently needs to be reading and reviewing Quran, tafsir of the Quran, and he needs to constantly supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah makes him sincere, that Allah makes him from amongst the just Imams that the Prophet mentioned in the hadith about the 7 that Allah will shade on the day of resurrection. And some things that can help the Imam to be the best that he can be in the community is secluding himself occasionally where he can read, he can meditate, he can supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is very important. Also walking maybe with some of your students and reviewing some books or reciting some Quran. And my humble opinion about the best way an Imam or a Da'i can preserve their Arabic language is by reading Arabic books, by writing research papers in Arabic, by teaching Arabic, by giving lectures in Arabic, recording lectures in Arabic, and having students come and read books to you in Arabic, whether it's Quran, whether it's hadith, whether it's books of fiqh or the likes. And now moving on to some other questions that you had asked, Sajid, may Allah bless you and reward you. In regards to the contract, I would advise the brothers who are looking to sign their first contract that they should reach out to other Imams. They should consult other Imams who have experience in the politics of negotiating and have experience in contractual agreements and terms. Unfortunately, Sajid, some communities may be somewhat selfish, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is the reality. And many communities are only concerned what an Imam can do and bring to the community without the community trying to help develop the Imam, support the Imam, grow with the Imam, and make him a better Imam and more productive for the community. So the graduate, he should look around for the masjid and community that he and his family are most comfortable living in. So don't rush. Sajid, don't rush, and tell the brothers, the graduates, the students, not to rush into the first deal that they're offered. Shop around, look around, visit some communities on the DL, on the down low, incognito style, to check them out. Because when you go for the interview or when you go to meet the board, of course, everybody's going to give you the beautiful impression that the community is so good and the community is excellent and everybody's going to be on the best behavior. So you need to go visit those communities, and don't inform anybody that you're going, and you actually take a look at those communities by yourself. Also, do some research about the schools. If you have a family, if you're going to send your kids to public schools or you're going to send them to Islamic schools, look to see what's available in those areas. Look for the crime, the amount of drugs in the community. All of these things you need to take into consideration before signing a contract with a new community. And the provisions may differ according to one's knowledge, according to how much they've memorized of the Quran, one's age, one's ethnicity, one's academic degrees, and also the capabilities of the community, the financial capabilities of the community. Anywhere, so I would say the pay, anywhere from a low pay of maybe $2,000 a month for a part-time imam up until maybe $6,000, $8,000 a month. But Sajid, you need to set your standards high. Don't settle for anything that they throw at you. Unfortunately, many of our imams in the past have just accepted any salary with any type of terms that the board throws at them, with any type of living accommodations. And unfortunately, this has shaped the mindset of many of those who are running our communities here in the West, that an imam should settle for whatever he's offered, live an aesthetic lifestyle like a zahid, eating stale bread and cans of tuna fish, and sleeping in the masjid or sleeping on the floor. And this standard, Sajid, needs to be changed, and the change needs to start from you graduates when you come back, by setting your standards high, that you have something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with that nobody else has been given. So my advice is to request a salary similar to what other religious leaders of other faiths are being paid. 60,000 a year, 100,000 a year, 120,000 a year. Look at what other religious leaders of other faiths in the community that you're going to are being paid, and say that that is the salary and those are the accommodations that you want. So basically, expect anything and everything in a contract. Don't expect them to offer you what you're looking for. So you need to negotiate. Or, brother Sajid, you need to have someone to negotiate on your behalf. And beware of making a decision before consulting your peers, your elders, your teachers, and fellow students. And also, most importantly, consult your family, consult your wife. If you have older children, consult your children as well. So, if the imam is not making enough through his salary from the masjid, then he could try to look for some type of employment. And I would recommend that he looks to some employment related to his studies, which is the best and the most ideal, such as teaching Arabic, such as translating, such as maybe working with some book publishing companies, doing some, tahqiqat or something of makhtutat, or doing some transcribing of lectures and things like this. But if the student doesn't find anything, then seek some type of work that doesn't interfere with his masjid responsibilities. Also, the imam, he can network with some of the community members to do some small businesses, maybe on the side, that are related to the masjid, such as selling Islamic books, selling Islamic clothing, maybe offering some type of arbitration services or marriage services or translating services. And my humble opinion is that the imam, he should always have that level of respect and dignity and honor, and he should always eat from his own earnings. He should always eat and feed his family from his own earnings. And me personally, as regards to fundraising, I have traveled for fundraising, and I wouldn't see a problem if an imam took a percentage or charged a fee for his services of fundraising. I look at it as a community service that one imam may be participating in or doing when they are doing fundraising. And majority of the communities that call you to come and do fundraising, if they could do it themselves, then they would do it. But since they can't, then you are offering a special service that you are specialized in doing and that nobody else has. So just like any other profession, I wouldn't see a problem in taking a small percentage or a fee from fundraising. And as I mentioned, I think our masajid should focus seriously on establishing endowment funds so that we can make our masajid self-sustainable, such as some properties, purchasing some properties and renting them, from which the rent goes to fund the masjid expenses, goes to cover the maintenance, goes to cover some of the imam's salary, goes to cover some other expenses that they may have in Ramadan or the Eids and the likes of these things. Or starting Islamic charter schools. There's many stipends and a lot of government funds here in the West that are available for those who start charter schools, where they actually give the attendees, the students, vouchers which they can attend these charter schools. So I think that many masajid should look into establishing Islamic charter schools and tapping into the government funding to help fund the Islamic schools, because this is something that majority of our Islamic schools here in the West are experiencing, right? They're going through, a lot of them, they depend upon donations for their schools to run. Many of the teachers are underpaid in Islamic schools, and a lot of times the tuition is high for the students. So I think a lot of the Islamic schools should look into um, that aspect and seriously consider going the route of trying to start Islamic charter schools. Also, the imam, he can charge for marriage services or divorce services or arbitration services, and maybe mentorship fees and things like that, or membership fees in the masjid for the communities that can handle paying membership fees.